What is the primary responsibility of a member of Congress? Represent their district, represent their state, represent the country.
I believe the primary responsibility of a member of Congressman is to do all three and to balance these interests one against another. Yes, a congressman should be able to represent his district and bring funding to his district, but there's a difference between trying to help your district out with a specific project and then also trying to help your district out at the expense of the country.
For example, in the healthcare debate this past year, actually it was the last year, Senator Ben Nelson won the so-called Cornhusker kickback for his state of Nebraska. And while this was definitely beneficial to his home state, it was completely to the detriment of the common good, and many attorney generals of states claimed that they would follow suit if this earmark remained in the bill.
On the other hand,
we'll have to leave you one hand. Great job. Thank you very much. That was a lovely job. You started out very clearly and well presenting your original testimony. I very much appreciated your talking about Yucca Mountain. That was a very interesting idea that got me thinking. With Parliament where blame and credit lies, and the winter of discontent was a very nice point to make. I particularly enjoyed, because it's the first I've heard of it today, and that was the first thought that occurred to me when I read the question, was your Republicans in Texas and the killer Democrats with their two tricks to Oklahoma and Kansas to get out of town so that their position would be held. I thought that was terrific. The shadow government in Parliament was wonderful, and talking about question time, you expanded a great deal on what the differences were and why they were effective. I think that you may have misunderstood my question about my congressman. He had voted against his party, and you understood that he had voted with it. But with that understanding, he spoke. If that had been the case in my question, you handled it beautifully, so that's not going to count against you. I think it's very interesting to hear about your 50 out of 53 congressmen in California, 60% or better. That's a beautiful example of safe districts and what the problem might be. So I appreciated hearing your solutions for that with the commission with 5, 5, and 4. We heard of another commission which suggested that 5, 5, and 1 independent, then the independent was the sole person making the decision. So I'm glad you didn't suggest that. You did a really lovely job, all of you, and I want you to look at where you are and to realize what a small group of people you're now a member of by testifying at those seats. I hope that I know that you will be exquisite citizens as a result of this experience. I hope that it has impassioned you, however, to be more than that and to perhaps represent us. And if you do that, if you represent your neighbors and friends in your state or local governments or here in national government, we will all be better for it. Thank you very much.
I agree with my colleague. I think you did a wonderful job of researching and integrating so much material into your response. And the follow-up questions were particularly good. More specifically, Madison, I like your discussion of separation of powers, checks and balances. In terms of our political system, Madison, the Madison quotation, ambition must be made counter. Ambition number 51 was particularly good. I also like the fact that you brought in a personal example, working for Adam Schick, and that you have some personal experience dealing with this. But the idea that there should be some tension between the two roles of delegate and trustee. But that was particularly insightful. Shen, I like your example of the Yucca Mountain, the Terry Reid, Brian example. You brought up the killer bees. You talked about examples of Louisiana, and the example of Proposition 15 shows that you're up on the current events and you be able to dovetail what you've learned and lead people with those kind of political moves that are going on in your state. Amanda, I like the fact that you made some distinctions between the racial gerrymandering and partisan gerrymandering. You talked about the parliamentary system, about the vote of no confidence. You used some current political scientists, Thomas Mann and Norman Ornstein, as examples to draw upon. And I'm not really familiar with the Arizona study, but that piqued my interest, and I'm going to try to follow up on this. Is it Sangvi? Sangvi, forgive me. I like the fact that when I asked you a question, how do you keep in touch, and you said, well, there's letters, there's phone calls, there's emails, there are myriad ways which you could keep in touch. And you talked about the importance of competitive and how districts are not competitive. And Tim brought that home with the statistics that my colleague has already mentioned. But you also brought in some historical things, the comparative system, the Labor Party in 1978, James Callahan. You talked about the delegate theory in more detail. You talked about the Perry case and the problem of getting outside the Beltway. I'm not sure, is Newt Gingrich really the person responsible for partisan bickering today? I'm not sure by sending him home that that's necessarily, that may be a non sequitur, but it certainly brings up the fact that you were aware of what that was going on. When members of Congress are sworn in, the only thing that they are sworn in to represent, they're not representing their district, and they don't get sworn in to represent their state. They get sworn in to uphold the Constitution. Hope you remember that one. That's an important thing. You did a great job. You're well coached, and good luck in the competition, guys.
Well, I know we all will give you a big round of applause when I finish. I just want to say that one of the things that strikes me most about something procedural about what you've done is that with 5 of you on your panel, we were all able to ask about 3 questions. That's a very tough thing to be able to do, because what it means is you were very efficient in how you answered the questions. Even though many of you talked, it didn't turn into a filibuster. We were able to get all of you active. You came in, you didn't stumble, you were finishing each other's thoughts. That is really a model of what, one of the things that you're judged on is participation. This is like the gold standard, is what you've done on participation. We always talk about participation, but this is what participation looks like. If someone wants an example. I also thought that your opening statement was an example of what an opening statement should be like. It was very much every word counted. So within 3 to 5 seconds, we had deliberation, we had checking ambition, we had limiting government. Boom, we've hit all the important issues. Then you went to regional interests and deliberation. We brought up Yucca Mountain. I worked in the Senate when Yucca Mountain was on. I remember my senator saying, well, any of us would have done what they did. Of course, the problem is that there's no place to put nuclear waste. You could have talked about it. There is a little bit of a common good problem. But it was a wonderful example for the point that you wanted to make. And you also talked about the accountability of the various systems. We really had a good sense of why you liked one system and the other. You really knew how they worked. And you understood the delegate theory and popular mandate. You didn't say anything wrong. I mean, that was also really, really excellent. And I think you're absolutely right that the media is the reason why other countries want to emulate our system. I think that's a very sophisticated answer. And although you talked about the commission at first, by the end, I thought it was a very profound thing, because there's something very appealing about that idea. But basically what you said was, hey, this is politics, and don't take the politics out of politics. And that's a very sophisticated point for somebody of any age to make, or particularly somebody your age to make. So each of you was terrific, your team was terrific. I always try to say something negative if I can at least offer something constructive. You stumped me from doing that. I'm not disappointed. But you should feel really super, because you did a really super job.